Super Mario Galaxy is one of those rare games that almost feels impossible to follow up. The first Galaxy set a new standard for what 3D platformers could be, blending creative level design, motion controls that actually worked, and one of the most memorable soundtracks in Nintendo's history. So, when Galaxy 2 released in 2010, expectations were sky high. Could Nintendo really improve on something already considered to be near perfect? Or was this just more of the same, a glorified expansion to the first game? 15 years later, and with both games now playable on the Switch, I wanted to take a fresh look back and ask, is Super Mario Galaxy 2 a good sequel? Some sequels aim to take what worked about the first game and evolve, refine and adapt what worked to evolve the series into a new idea, while other sequels are simply just more of the same thing, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. After all, more of something great is still something great. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is definitely the latter. When talking about Galaxy 2 as a sequel, I want to first discuss things that I think it does better and worse than the first game. The main thing everyone talks about when comparing the Galaxy games is its story. Galaxy 2 has a very deep intellectual story. Peach gets kidnapped, go. Yeah, while I'm sure no one was really expecting anything more than that, I prefer the direction that the first game took, which also had the same basic story, but it was the presentation that made it stand out. It had a more cinematic take on the usual Mario formula, and combined with the orchestral music created a grand version of the typical tropes. Galaxy 1 also had Rosalina's storybook, which told her backstory and was surprisingly engaging for a Mario game. Galaxy 2 dropped that feature for 15 years, but the new Switch version finally adds a similar storybook, this time focused on Lubba, this game's main companion. While Lubba was never quite as compelling as Rosalina, the storybook still adds charm and made me appreciate her character a lot more. Where Galaxy 2 dials back the story, it doubles down on gameplay innovation, and nowhere is that clearer than its reworked prankster comets. Something I think Galaxy 2 does vastly better than the first game is these prankster comets. First of all, the way you unlock them has been streamlined and actually requires some player input. I, and apparently many others, didn't even know how Galaxy 1's unlock system worked. By locking them behind the Comet Medal collectibles that are hidden once in each level, Galaxy 2 adds an extra objective that are often fun to collect without becoming tedious. There's a larger selection of comet types, bringing back the Speedy, Daredevil, Purple Coin, Cosmic Mario and Fast Foe comets from the first game, while also introducing the Cosmic Clone comets, a kind of evolution to the Cosmic Mario racers, but instead of racing them, they follow your movements, meaning you have to be more careful while platforming. I especially like this comet in the Chompworks Galaxy, where you are required to stand on small platforms to lower them, and is made more difficult as you have to carefully lead the clones away. Double time comets. These comets make all moving platforms in a level travel at double their normal speed. It forces you to plan your jumps faster and react more quickly, otherwise the level layout is the same. To be honest, this is my least favourite of the three new ones, as none of the levels that use it are particularly harder, even with the fast forward effect added. And finally, Romp comets. These comets create missions where you must defeat a set number of weak enemies within a time limit. It turns a portion of the level into a quick arena-style challenge. You're racing the clock rather than exploration, so it feels like a short combat minigame compared to normal platforming. I personally really like the change of pace that these comets give. I also like the direction they took with the Purple Coin missions specifically, in which they segregate a certain portion of the level to create fun, quick challenges. Sometimes you're on a time limit, sometimes the Cosmic Clones are also integrated, and sometimes both, creating a sort of mishmash between multiple comet types. Galaxy 1 did have a few of these too, but the ones people remember are the huge maps with scrolling scavenger hunts. Something else I also enjoy more than Galaxy 1 is that each galaxy has fewer stars on average per level, minus the green stars, but the game counts them as their own separate thing. I feel like some galaxies in the first game are far too bloated with stars, feeling like you're having to repeat parts of the same levels constantly, once normally, then with a timer, then with only 1 HP, which does become tedious. The addition of these new comet types and rework of some of the old ones make prankster comets, in my opinion, much more enjoyable on average. Because in comparison, Galaxy 2 has you constantly unlocking new stars for previous levels, whether that be prankster comets or NPC challenges, which we will get to later, rather than lingering on one galaxy for seemingly ages. Speaking of the levels though, why don't we go over some of the best ones? Cosmic Cove Galaxy. A nice, chill, ambient level that gives us one of the most relaxing songs in the entire game, and did the seemingly impossible task of making a Mario water level fun. Swimming through caverns and skating on the ice feels so calm and serene. Tall Trunk Galaxy. The first star has you scaling up a few giant trees, while the second star has you sliding back down Mario 64 style. The Purple Coin star takes place entirely on this slide and is one of the most fun stars in the game. This galaxy also gave us the Whittles, Not much more to say about them other than that they are peak character design. Puzzle Plank Galaxy. A world made entirely out of wooden puzzles, with planks snapping into place and saw blades cutting off sections of the floor. Chompworks Galaxy. Such a unique concept for a level, being a factory where the chain chomps are made. Luring the chomps through obstacles is fun and innovative. This includes the only star in Galaxy 2 that uses the spring mushroom, but it actually feels like it was designed around the power-up, and therefore isn't nearly as obnoxious to use. Throwback Galaxy. A complete remake of one of Mario 64's most iconic levels, Thlump's Fortress. Now with Galaxy's new physics, power-ups and mission structure. Slimy Spring Galaxy. One of the last levels before the final boss that feels like a claustrophobic mini-adventure. It has been said numerous times already how unnerving, ambient and just out of place it feels, in the best way possible. If Galaxy 1 felt like Nintendo flexing its new planetary physics for the first time, Galaxy 2 feels like the team asking, okay, now what can we really do with this? The result is some of the most creative level design in any 3D platformer I've played, even compared to its predecessor. Levels are shorter and more focused, which lets the designers introduce wild ideas for a single mission, and then move on before it overstays its welcome. One Galaxy might have you flipping parts of the stage with your spin jump, another has you riding Yoshi up a tower of crumbling blocks, and then the next throws you into a full-blown 2D gravity puzzle. And like I said, because the levels aren't stuffed with 4 or 5 stars each, there's less repetition. You're constantly seeing new concepts, hazards and gimmicks. Galaxy 2 keeps things constantly fresh, with a huge range of mission types. You'll find yourself doing a variety of tasks, from escorting an enemy to a Guillemot by carefully guiding the enemy across the map, to collecting enough points in the Chimps minigames before the timer runs out, to racing birds and motion-controlled flying stages. These challenges break up the pacing beautifully. Each one tests a different skill, allowing a great sense of progression by unlocking unique mission types on top of the already existing Prankster Comets. Speaking of which, by the way, am I the only one who thinks that the bird controls are horrible on the Switch version? I've never had a problem on the Wii or with any other motion control level in these games, but specifically the Switch version of the bird levels felt clunky and unresponsive, and it gave me horrible wrist pain after only a minute of playing. Anyway, while I do prefer the hub world from Galaxy 1, the Comet Observatory had a more magical, atmospheric feel. Starship Mario has its own charm. I like how it evolves as you progress, with new NPCs and power-ups appearing around the ship after completing their related levels. It gives the hub a sense of growth and community that reflects your journey. Galaxy 1 did this too, but only a few times throughout the entire game. In Galaxy 2, it's a steady stream of small rewards that make returning to the hub feel meaningful. Galaxy 2 also brings back every power-up from the first game, minus the Ice Flower for some reason, even though that was possibly the most fun power-up to use. But no, bring back the Spring Mushroom. Furthermore, Galaxy 2 also introduces some of the most fun and creative in any Mario game. The Cloud Flower lets Mario create up to 3 temporary cloud platforms beneath him, adding a clever layer of precision and creativity to platforming, allowing players to reach otherwise inaccessible places and skip entire parts of the level should they choose. With the Rock Mushroom, Mario transforms into Rock Mario, rolling through enemies and smashing obstacles at a high speed. It's great for time trials and destructive fun, but requires careful handling to avoid flying off ledges. I particularly like the bowling minigame it's used in that 1 star. The drill allows the player to tunnel through planets and emerge on the other side. Some levels that are built around the power-up even have some hollow planets where you can freely roam around the inside. It completely changes how you navigate a 3D space by having you focus on what will be on the opposite side. Finally, we have Yoshi. Although absent from Galaxy 1, Yoshi is treated like a power-up in most other Mario games. But in Galaxy 2, even he gets his own set of unique power-ups. The Dash Pepper gives Yoshi a burst of speed, letting him sprint up walls and over water. It's used in fast-paced obstacle courses like Hightail Falls Galaxy. The Blimp Berry makes Yoshi inflate like a balloon, allowing for more vertical challenges. And the way you gradually lose air before suddenly falling back down means you have to tactically maneuver around the terrain. And finally, the Bulb Berry turns Yoshi into a big flashlight, illuminating dark areas and revealing invisible platforms, creating a puzzle-like twist to exploration. Something I really like about the Galaxy games, and this goes for both of them, something I never really hear anyone talk about, is how the boss fights actually utilise the power-ups. I can't really think of any other Mario games before this that do that, and instead reserves the power-ups for only exploration and an additional attack for bosses. Other than maybe Sunshine, but I consider Flood to be part of the core moveset more than a power-up. Boss fights in the Galaxy games find you flying above enemies in the Bee and Cloud suit, and rolling into the back of a boss with the Rock power-up, among other instances, making them feel essential to win. After you beat Bowser and roll credits, Galaxy 2 adds an entirely new layer of content, 120 extra hidden green stars. scattered throughout the galaxies. Instead of giving you new objectives and separate missions, they're tucked into the levels themselves, perched on far-off platforms, hidden behind walls, or floating above dangerous paths. Suddenly, levels you've memorized become scavenger hunts and skill challenges. You're not just reaching the goal anymore, you're combing every corner, listening for the faint sparkle sound of a green star. It's a simple idea, but it doubles the game's lifespan. While some players find hunting green stars to be fun, post-game content, I find myself just using the guide for most of them, as some are hidden in some of the most convoluted places possible. Unlocking the game's final and most challenging level behind collecting all of them was not a good choice in my opinion, as it makes them no longer feel like an optional post-game challenge, but rather required to actually play all of the levels. And with some green stars being not very enjoyable, required and unfun is not a good mix. When collecting green stars, I found myself running into the problem of having to replay parts of the levels repeatedly in order to get 100%. I feel like they could have incorporated a Banjo-Kazooie type system, where you're not immediately thrown out of the level after finding a green star, even if they made that specific to the green star levels. I want to end this video by talking about the music. One of the most iconic aspects of both Galaxy games due to its implementation of a fully live orchestral soundtrack, which has since become an iconic part of the Mario series, creating a bombastic, cinematic feeling to what could have just been another upbeat Mario soundtrack. As this game is set in space and therefore has a grander scale, it's fitting that the soundtrack would go beyond what previous Mario games have done, and give it a film-like quality. Puzzle Plant Galaxy mixes energetic banjo rhythms with orchestral flair, showing how the game effortlessly blends genres. Then there's the final Bowser battle, where pounding drums and a full symphonic assault make the showdown feel truly cinematic. What makes Galaxy's soundtrack so special is its variety. It's not afraid to experiment by combining classical, jazz, rock, and even ambient electronic influences. Yet it all feels cohesive. Every level has its own musical identity that reflects its themes and mood. So, 15 years later, does Super Mario Galaxy 2 still hold up? Absolutely. In fact, it might be one of the best examples of how to make a sequel right. Every level feels tighter, every idea more confident, and every challenge more deliberate. Sure, it does dial back on the story and atmosphere compared to the first game, but what it loses in cinematic flair, it makes up for with its level design, in creativity and gameplay variety. The constant stream of mechanics, power-ups, and galaxy concepts keeps the game feeling fresh from start to finish. And while it may feel like I was ragging on Galaxy 1's flaws in order to promote Galaxy 2, I would like to preface that I still think Galaxy 1 is an amazing game. In fact, both of them are among my favourites of all time. But I just feel like the way Galaxy 2 was able to expand on the core concepts of the first game elevates it to a level above the original, and is overall a better package in my opinion. Even in 2025, Galaxy 2 remains a masterclass in level design. It's proof that strong fundamentals and creative ideas can outlast any hardware generation. Some motion control centered moments don't translate perfectly to modern systems, but the core experience, that mix of gravity-defying platforming and pure imagination, is timeless. It's easy to call Galaxy 2 more of the same, but that's missing the point. It's more of something great. A carefully tuned sequel that understands exactly what made its predecessor special, and pushes it to its absolute peak. Even compared to later 3D Mario titles like Odyssey, Galaxy 2 still feels remarkably polished and imaginative. So yes, Super Mario Galaxy 2 is a good sequel.